born in Louisville, Kentucky, and received his first camera at the age of 15. Since then, he's directed several short films and a handful of feature-length films. In February 2015, he started his own production company, A Cut to the Chase Productions. Having just released his latest full-length film, Retribution, his strong passion for directing continues to drive him into making many more films in the future. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us for this episode of Director Spotlight, where today our guest is none other than Chase Dudley. If you don't care, we'll go ahead and get straight into it. Now we know that you're a director.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into films in the first place?
Well, since I was little, I've always seemed to look at film on a different lens than like most people. I always was acting out the Chucky scenes, like doing the voodoo stuff, and
as a kid, awesome.
Yeah. I seemed like I always knew I wanted to be. Like everybody was always outside, I was always inside watching films and studying them. And I think the movie that really kind of where I think I got there was Scream. Like I really knew I wanted to do it.
Gotcha. Well, of all the things that you have directed, what was the first thing that you did, and what did you learn from it after it was all said and done?
Well, the first feature film I did was Last Breath, which was in 2008, and I thought it was good until I went to the Fright Night Film Festival, and then I watched Jacob Ennis' film Stash, and I was like, wow, I need a lot of work. And my lighting was horrible. There's a lot of things. The camera angles wasn't really on point. Just a lot of things. It was just a bad film. But I learned a lot because I took like 2 or 3 years and I really studied films and watched a lot of behind the scenes, which is really helpful these days.
Gotcha. Well, to this day, how many films would you say you've directed?
I just wrapped my 5th feature film, Retribution, and from watching Last Breath and watching Retribution, it looks like I'm 2 different people.
Oh, good. Well, it's in a good way.
Yeah.
Well, of everything that you have directed, what would you say is your favorite?
My favorite, definitely Retribution.
What do you think makes it stand apart?
Well, the cast and the crew was amazing. The teamwork and like so much dedication to this film. Like everybody was like really hands-on. It really felt like a team. All the actors and the crew, we were so close, and we arrive on set like 3:30 in the morning and like set up, and then the actors would get there, and it was like even the actors was helpful. Like Spencer, he did all kinds of things that just made the film just so helpful. Casey Miracle, he has so much knowledge in directing and filmmaking, and he was really helpful and helped me out and a lot of stuff. So it was just really nice just to have that family feeling, because I never had that with any other project. A lot of people usually if it doesn't involve them, and if they kind of will stay off to a side. But Retribution, and you will see with the product, everyone was so much more helpful.
So everybody, crew, was really hands-on getting it done.
Even the writer, Brent Slapchuck, we conference called and a lot of stuff, and having a writer that you can just hit up on the speed dial and then pretty much give tips to the actors and actresses, and everything was so on point. And I really feel like this film is going to go far for that reason.
Well, good. I'm glad. With all of the actors and actresses that you have worked with, do you have a favorite actor or actress that you worked with thus far?
I think everybody has
several?
their favorites. I don't think I can really give this one because there's so many good people I worked with over the years. But I definitely would say the best came from Retribution. I would say I really enjoy, as far as actresses go, Liberty Clark Fraser. She's has such a presence. And she intimidates everybody on set because she's she comes from hardcore theater and she is hardcore. Whatever you need her to do, she does. And I loved working with Sandra Holliger too. I've never seen so many come from so many different emotions, from serious to really vulnerable, emotional, angry. All kinds of emotions. And this was her first film, and she really was up there with some of really experienced people I worked with. And as far as male actors go, the first come to mind I would have to say is Casey Miracle. I've never really had that experience working with someone where I really disliked them on set, because of the character they're playing. And he plays such a character you love to hate that, I just really kind of wanted to just kill him sometimes. Yeah, he did an amazing job. He really always on point. He always came up and he would have a page full of questions of how he can do something. And I just loved how he always did his research and his homework on his character. And I mean, he was amazing. And I love working with Patrick Allred too. We had like 8 pages worth of dialogue, and this man nailed every single line. And this is the courthouse scene, and I was already nervous on that scene anyway because it was so much going on, and I never did anything like that. And he just took the floor. He was amazing, and everybody was like, "Wow."
So having never done a scene that big, I guess his performance kind of
his
put you at ease.
His performance was like, wow. I mean, this was lots of lines. I mean, it was literally like a book. And just the fact that he nailed that, and I mean, we did it like 12 times, and he nailed it every single time. Never had to tell him twice to do anything.
Awesome. Sounds like a pretty
it was
pretty professional.
Yeah, because I mean, like we had so many different locations difficult locations as it is, and you know, I never did any of these type of locations like shooting in a police station, shooting in a courthouse, and all these things, and you know, you get nervous because you know you never done it. And this was definitely out of my comfort zone, and I mean, all the actors always showed up, and it was just a big relief because you know, as a director, you kind of overanalyze, and you kind of like, oh, this is, you can't sleep, you get anxiety because you're like, is this going to go wrong, is this going to go right? Because my films in the past, I mean, a lot of things that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
And any filmmaker out there would know that.
Right. Well, as a filmmaker, who are some of your influences?
Quentin Tarantino for sure. Oh man, like, you know, my mom was great. I love my mom because she always took me to go see his movies, even when I was little. My first film I seen of his was Pulp Fiction at the movie theaters, and I've been hooked on him from Pulp Fiction to, you know, Kill Bills, and my favorite film that he recently did was Django Unchained. The guy, he just, I don't know how he does it. Like, he just, I mean, map out everything so perfectly. And I love Martin Scorsese, of course. Another director, Ridley Scott. Those are my top 3 favorites.
Gotcha. Now, those directors, you know, I'm going through some of the movies that they've done. They've had some pretty difficult scenes to film.
Very difficult.
For you, what's been your most difficult scene or entire film to film?
Retribution, and I can't even go into a list of order of which one was the most difficult. I'll probably have to say number 1 was the courthouse because, you know, you had the extras in the seats filling up and then you had the jury, and pretty much making sure everything was mapped out right for it to take place in a real courthouse setting. You know, because I watched lots of Law and Order. I talked to real prosecutors and real lawyers and all that stuff to make sure I got this right. And
right.
And then, you know, the cameras, you know, overheat and stuff like that, and you have to set up and get different angles, and then have to move certain things and make sure the continuity takes place. It was just a lot of people to direct.
Yeah, a lot of things people don't think about.
Yeah,
you
it's
don't
really
think about
nerve-wracking,
cameras overheating,
you know?
and
yeah, because you being this one guy in a big old car, and we shot in Shelbyville, and it's a big old courthouse, and having to yell over and get everyone's attention, and then making sure this person got their lines right, and then shooting over here, and then it just was a big headache. Yeah. But it was fun though, because at the end of the day, when we wrapped and realized I got everything I wanted and needed, and you know, we ran overtime about 2 or 3 hours, and I thought they were gonna shut us down, but the maintenance guy was like, "Hey, we'll stay, and you can take as long as you need it." So that was a big relief too. And then when we wrapped, I'm just like.
An accomplishment.
Yes, it was a big accomplishment because if we got this wrong, we had no movie, because this movie takes place, I mean, pretty much revolve around the courthouse.
Now, of all the scenes that you've shot with all the films that you've done, what's been your favorite?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I shot a lot of great scenes. I would have to probably say the mortuary scene we shot. Just simply because, you know, I mean, everybody's in a sense is afraid of dying. But shooting inside of the embalming room, it was really creepy.
So it was real. It wasn't
it was
a set.
real. It was real. It was not a set. It was real. The real thing. And the guy just gave us a tour on like how all that stuff works. And I'm just like, okay, thanks. I'm not gonna eat lunch. You know. And I arrived really early that day because they had a funeral that day later on. And you know, they were like, you can take a nap in here. I'm like, are you kidding me? I ain't taking a nap in here.
Right, yeah.
But I would have to say that just because it was, I overcame a fear of mine. So it was like a great obstacle. And plus, like, the location was just, it was so eerie and creepy. And I think it's going to really help Retribution a lot.
Yeah, and knowing that it's not a set, that'll
It's the
that'll
real
be
thing.
something
And
to think of when you see it on screen.
You can tell it's the real thing. And then, like, one of my actresses, I'm not going to name names, was walking around barefoot. I'm like, are you crazy? She'll know who I am when I mention it.
Right. Since you have written, directed, ran camera, sound, pretty much any aspect you can think of in filmmaking, is there one that you prefer, or do you prefer to kind of do it all?
Well, it's impossible to really do it all and, I mean, have a great product. But if I can choose two that I really, really absolutely love doing, and I can't really, I mean, I think I like directing more over acting, but my first thing I wanted to be was an actor. I learned to direct because, of course, you know, you want to make a movie and someone has to be in charge. So,
right.
And before, you know, this is before Facebook and, you know, and MySpace, and before I really networked with other filmmakers. So those are my favorite two.
Gotcha. Of all the lessons that you've learned throughout your career as a filmmaker, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned that has made your filmmaking better?
Contracts.
Okay. Had a lot of people flake out on you?
Yes, it is definitely the nature of the game. I mean, for whatever reasons, people flake out, or, you know, you always want to have that agreement, so that way, if people change their word, you can't go into court and be like, hey, I mean, they had their word, because, I mean, people's word change all the time, but contracts don't. And it really helps out the filmmaker, you know, because you're pouring a lot of your own money into this, and you fork out thousands and thousands of dollars, and, you know, I've been ripped off a lot from, you know, people not finishing up editing to you arrive on set and actors don't show up, all kinds of things, and that's time, because, you know, you already have certain people there, and you got to figure out to get people back the next day, and that's, I mean, when you're in charge of filming, whether you're feeding people or you're paying people and stuff like that, that adds up.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened. All of that happened.
What is it that draws you to a film? What makes film great to you?
Well, getting out of my ordinary life is
an escape.
It's an escape. And I don't know. It's just, you know, they spend, like, with movies, whatever you want to be, whether you really do that or not, you can do it in a movie. And then just because, you know, when you really, like, if you're going to be a cop or something like that, you would kind of study on what cops are really like and stuff like that. And I like the real thing. So whatever I'm portraying, I always try to do my research, and so that way when I'm being that person, you know, I really know what I'm doing.
Kind of capture the true essence.
Yes.
A way.
Which is one of my favorite filmmakers that I've, director-wise, I chose. They actually have their actors really do those real things. So that way it's not so much method. It's like you really doing that.
Right. No acting to it. It's you.
Yeah,
at that
real
point
fact.
in time.
Because to me, you can't really bring an emotion you haven't experienced.
Right. We've all heard the saying, "It all starts with the script."
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Or
Yes, the script is, in my opinion, the most important part of the film because it's the architect of the project. If you don't follow the script or you change things, you know, you're risking continuity problems and stuff too. Because, you know, I mean, it may say good. I can't talk. It may sound good then, but, you know, if you don't really think through, you know, you're gonna end up having mistakes, and, you know, that's why pre-production is so important, because you have months and months and months to really study this and really think it through. So yeah, I would say the script is the most important part.
Being on the independent film circuit, what have film festivals really done for you? Have they?
Oh man, film festivals are definitely good because you meet other filmmakers, and then you meet all kinds of different people, and networking. And networking is what is the key to getting you out there. If you just have a project and you sit on it, and you know you don't really go anywhere and meet people, it's kind of impossible to grow.
Right. If you could cast anybody in any film of yours, who do you think it would be, actor or actress?
There's so many people I would want to work with. You was one of them. I reached out to you, and I would love to. I would love to work with Sabrina Scott. I've since my first film, I've really been trying to work with her, but she is constantly always so busy. I've always wanted to work with John Wells too. He's almost in like in everything. Like every time, every day, he's like on set somewhere else, and
Yeah.
I always wanted to work with him too. They, I mean, I've seen them in overtime, and they were absolutely amazing. And I would love to have them on my project.
When it comes to making the film industry better, is there anything that you think could be improved on or added?
Oh yeah. For one, support of another filmmaker, even if it's not your film. I always pretty much promote and share other filmmaker stuff because it's so hard to get your work out there. And I think if everyone came together, there's no I in team. And obviously, if we can do it by ourselves, we wouldn't need to have camera people and other departments in one. So I think if other filmmakers kind of came together and which I seen Cherokee Hall on Fridays share Independent Film Day, and I think that's a good start. Because I think if everyone done that and kind of like helped out on other people's project, I mean, there would be so many people come out of Kentucky. I mean, how do you think LA do it in New York? It's because they're supporting and help other people through their projects.
When it comes to your film work, is there anything you try to rebel against or kind of stay away from?
I'm pretty open and flexible, and you have to be in order to be creative. I don't like being told I can't do something. It makes me just try 10 times harder to do it.
Right.
So and because I always try to push myself. I'm a pusher, and that's why I'm never really satisfied with my work, even if it's good, because I'm always on to the next adventure. I always try to go back and find what I did wrong rather than I did right. So that way, in my next project, I strive 10 times harder to be better.
Right. Well, no, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that
Yeah.
way, if it's right, don't do anything to correct it. So
Right. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. If I feel like I got something good, I always want to try to do it better and better and better, which is why I probably always get so many takes. I'm kind of really OCD like that. I think it's like my Howard Hughes OCD-ness.
Well, I would think that's common with all directors because I mean it's your vision.
Yeah.
You want it to be the way you want it to be.
Yeah,
So,
and it's like, and that's why my next project from now on, I'm gonna do storyboarding, because so that way everyone can also see my vision. Because having to explain something to someone, and then like having like 20 actors flood and asking you different questions, and somebody would ask a question about next week, and I'm like, I'm in the now. So that way,
Yeah.
if I have a storyboard right now, I mean, it would be a lot more easier to pass down to my crew, and that way everybody's on the same page. Because even when you say something, even if you think you're making yourself clear,
everybody
everyone
can interpret
comprehends
it
you
differently.
differently.
Yeah.
But a storyboard, you're just like, here, look at the thing.
Just like it is, no
Yes,
other way,
no
just
other
like
way.
that.
Yeah.
Well, with everything that you have learned through filmmaking and maybe, like you just said, implementing storyboards in future projects, are you working on any future projects or do you have anything in mind?
I
for the
have
future?
4 feature films in the works. Marvelous Mandy, which is my next film that we're shooting in LA, and that's going to be an awesome film. Sleeping Bulls, which is an action film about corrupt cops and whatnot, is another one. And we don't have a working title, which is going to be the one after Marvelous Mandy. We're shooting like an apocalyptic type action film in Arizona, which I'm really
Gotcha.
looking forward to.
So you're really branching out with these next.
Yes, and that's not
films.
including short films either. So I get bored, and like I'm always kind of trying to make myself better, and I come up with all these ideas. And me and Brent, the writer, which it's really good that I have like a writer every time I have a really awesome idea, and he'll come back in a couple weeks and he'll have the full script, and I'm just like, wow.
So he's kind of like you when it comes to
we
fixating on
are.
something and getting
We
it
have
done.
yes, we share a lot of similar ideals, which I've never really had such a connection with another filmmaker. But we both want to still like bring storytelling into films and stuff like that, because it kind of seems like each and every film, like people relying on CGI and stuff like that, the storytelling gets lost. And some of the best films from like the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and 60s of films was like master of storytelling. Look at Hitchcock, and I mean, look at all those great directors who told stories. And and then they remake them, and then they wonder where they get lost. I mean, look at the storytelling versus the effects and stuff like that. It's not always about the CGI and the effects. It's about really the story. You got to tell a great story. You got to hook them, which is why people prefer books.
Right, because you can convey so many different thoughts and emotions and things in 4 pages, but in a movie you might have 2 seconds.
Yeah.
To convey all that.
Yeah, and
is that hard for you to?
It really is, and that's why I've really gotten out of writing, because I'm not a good writer. I'm not even gonna pretend that I am. And like my first couple of movies I watch and I laugh because I'm like, this is so horrible. But Brent, he is such a good storyteller. I mean, he, in my opinion, is like Quentin Tarantino. Every character he makes is something different, and like I just fall in love with his screenplays. And if you'll see from Peyton's Burton, which was the interracial drama I shot last year, until like the films now, you will see a big difference in my work, and it has a lot to do with the storytelling.
Now, the storytelling, when it comes to aspiring filmmakers and advice to them, would storytelling kind of be
storytelling, and pretty much being comfortable with yourself? Because my first 2 or 3 films, I was so passive. I was just wanting to make a movie. And I lost my vision because, one thing, you have on set is everybody has ideals. And choosing, it's one thing, you have to listen to your actors and your crew. You have to. And then you have to really choose, you have to be comfortable with yourself and knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to. And don't be a yes man, because that was my mistakes. I was a yes man. I was saying yes to everything because I was more interested in trying to please people rather than having my own voice. And now
so you kind of sacrificed your vision.
Yes. And in each project, I get way more, confident in myself to, knowing when to say yes. And I realized I learned a lot, but it's also so much I don't know. So when I'm not on in front of a camera, behind the camera, that's what I'm doing. I'm watching YouTube videos and subscribing to filmmakers who are way more successful than me and finding out what I don't know. It's not so much what you know, it's more the question of what you don't know.
Right. Well, I'm sure that any aspiring filmmakers who see this will definitely, heed your word and hopefully work at that better.
Hopefully, because it will save them a lot of trouble. Because that was one thing I didn't do. I didn't really listen very well to, like George Spinella and Jacob Ennis and Cherokee Hall. They all said the same thing, and I was in my own little lane. I didn't really take a lot of advice, but better late than never, right?
But you learned it. That's the important thing. You learned it. You got it.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe that'll just have to be the path for other filmmakers. But
yeah.
as long as they get there.
Yeah, I guess everybody has to find their way, but that's my advice.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for having me. This is my first televised interview, so.
Well, it's a good one.
Yeah.
A good way to start out.
I hope so. I'll be really critical when I watch it, if I even do.
It happens. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you like what you saw, be sure to go to the YouTube page for Rotting Corpse Productions and subscribe. Again, this is the Director's Chair. We'll see you later.